And we are back. Welcome to the second day of Euros qualifying. And after last night's good win for England, if you want to see my full reaction and mini Southgate rant once again, then you can check that out. It was the previous video on this channel and will be available for you at the end of this video. But only disappointment other than that last night was that my predictions actually went very, very well. And I'm very annoyed that I didn't go for that draw in the Luxembourg game. Because other than that and other than the England game, I got every single result correct and even got a couple of correct scores. So hopefully I do as well today. Before we get into today's action, as always, please remember to drop a like on the video if you enjoy these predictions and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Let's just get straight into it because we've got 8 more games in European qualifying this evening. And we start with Group B and we start with arguably the biggest fixture of the night. It is the French up against the Netherlands. Now, I want to sit here and say that this is a tough one to call, but I'm just not convinced. France were obviously very, very impressive at the World Cup and were, in my opinion, robbed of the World Cup final win due to some very poor refereeing. And of course, Kylian Mbappe is still on fire. The Dutch, on the other hand, I thought were pretty disappointing. They played well to begin with, but trust me, when you're relying on Wout Weghorst to get you out of some messes, you know you're in trouble. So I just don't think there's going to be any other scenario here other than a French win tonight. I'm going to go for 3-1. I think it could be a very entertaining game, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be a close one. So we're going to go for a strong French home win to kick off their run to Euro 2024. The other game in Group B sees Gibraltar taking on Greece. Now, Gibraltar are on a relatively good run of form. However, they were in a sort of worser Nations League compared to the Greeks. And the Greeks are doing relatively well themselves at the moment. I'd like to say this is going to be a tough one to call, but I don't really see Gibraltar getting anything from this one. I'm going to go 3-0 to the Greeks. They've been scoring a fair few goals recently, and they've not been conceding that many. So I don't really see Gibraltar being able to put a scratch on them. So we'll go for 3-0 to the Greeks. On to Group E, and we start with the Czech Republic up against Poland. Now, this one is a very tough one to call, in my opinion. A lot of people have the Czech Republic as favourites for this one. However, I just don't see it that way. Poland, obviously, are, again, a very good defensive outfit. We saw that at the World Cup, and one of the biggest disappointments as we watched that game against Argentina was they were trying so hard to defend, it's almost like they forgot how to attack. And when you've got players like Robert Lewandowski, you really should be attacking a lot more. The reason why I'm going to go in favour of Poland, as I reveal the score as 1-0 to Poland, is because Czech Republic's main man, Patrick Schick, is currently unavailable. So without him being available, I don't really see where the Czech Republic get their goals against Poland tonight. So we're going to go for 1-0 Poland. We'll see what happens, but like I say, I don't see the Czechs doing anything without their star striker. The other game in that group sees Moldova taking on the Faroe Islands. Now, these two were in the same World Cup qualifying group, and across the two games, the Faroe Islands won at home and drew away. So that would automatically make the Faroe Islands favourites, you would tend to think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the exact same scoreline that it was when these two faced off in World Cup qualifying. And I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in the game in Moldova. Don't really think I need to say too much more about that. Again, it'll be an interesting game to see which way this one goes. Let's move on to the next group, which is Group F, where we find Austria, who take on Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan have won all of their last 5 games. Austria have lost all of their last 4. Granted, again, this is in the Nations League where Austria were in a very, very tough Nations League group, and Azerbaijan pulled up some upsets to win their games in their Nations League group, although they were in League C and Austria were in League A. So when you kind of put that in perspective, there really should only be one outcome for tonight, and I'm going to go for an Austrian win. I'm going to be a little bit conservative, though. I'm only going to go for 2-1. Like I say, Azerbaijan are full of confidence right now with all the wins they have been picking up, so I think they'll give Austria a good game tonight. But realistically, Austria should take the win in this one. The other game in Group F sees Sweden taking on Belgium, and I think this could be a really entertaining game, potentially a close one. Obviously, Sweden have recalled Zlatan Ibrahimovic at the age of 41. I don't think he'll be starting. You would expect Isak to still lead the line, and obviously he's just coming off the back of a great performance for Newcastle. The Belgian team, of course, in a bit of disarray after another disappointing major tournament. It's really unclear what sort of team they're going to put out tonight, but on paper, you'd still have to say that the Belgians are the slight favourites. I could definitely see the Swedes pulling off a big result tonight. But I'm going to go for an entertaining scoreline. I'm going to go for 3-2 to Belgium. But watch this space. I think Sweden could definitely get a good result tonight. And finally, we have Group G. And we start with Bulgaria taking on Montenegro. Now, again, I think this is a relatively tough one to call. This is the early game today for any of you that are interested in knowing what games play first. But there's not really much to split the two sides other than they're both on relatively poor form. So I've just sort of looked at the stats and figure, well, Bulgaria have scored a fair few goals recently. Montenegro haven't scored a fair few goals recently. So with all of that said, I'm just going to go for 2-0 to Bulgaria and leave it at that, because I don't really have anything else to separate the two sides other than recent goal scoring form. Finally, we have Serbia taking on Lithuania, and I think this is probably the easiest prediction of the night. This is very similar to how we had the Portugal against Liechtenstein one yesterday. And I'm not going to go for the 6-0 that I went for in that prediction. I'm going to go for what the actual scoreline was in that game last night. And I'm going to go for a 4-0 win to the heavy favourites in Serbia. They, of course, have so many talented players, the Serbs, and Lithuania really shouldn't be able to cause any problems to them whatsoever. So we will end tonight's predictions, or this morning's predictions, or however you are watching it before tonight's games, with that 4-0 win. And that is going to be it, as always. Now, all that is left for you to do is let me know down in the comments your thoughts on my predictions, a few more thoughts on the action last night, and of course, let me know your predictions down in the comments as well. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back tomorrow morning for day 3.